welcome back to the Zilosophy podcast. This is episode 45 with John Antonio, author of Always Say Hi, An Introvert's Guide to Overcoming Rejection. It's a great book about being an introvert. This is now the second podcast I've done about a book being an introvert. People are often shocked to find out that I'm actually an introvert because I appear so natural when I do stuff like this. And I've gotten good at it, so I am, but my nature is not this, right? Like, I'd rather be sitting quietly and listening than doing this, but I can help more people by doing this, so I've worked on it, and it's become a lot more comfortable. You can also work on the things that hold you back to become more comfortable. John is also not just an author, and it's not just a great book. You're going to hear a lot about that, but he's also the guy that helped me turn Zilosophy on Golf into a #1 Amazon bestseller. He's always reminding me to make sure I have the book. I didn't have it behind me on the podcast, but I'm putting it here, John. Look, even uncovering my name so you can see it. It was just hovering in mediocrity, and a lot of people think this is a great book. I've had some great feedback, but a really simple, repeatable process that John helped me do really changed the game completely over just a matter of weeks and turning my book into a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So you're going to hear a little bit about that. You can reach out to John. He's at always.say.hi on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook and LinkedIn under John Antonio. And if you're interested in getting help on the book or talking to him on a book that you wrote and marketing on Amazon, or if you just want to talk to him about what his book meant to you, you can also reach him via email at john@alwayssayhi.com. That's JOHN at alwayssayhi.com. Regarding the book, it's great that things are going well on Amazon. Also selling books in bulk to golf coaches. Shout out to Jeff Goldstein in San Diego. He's been one of my biggest supporters. He just bought another box of books for a big golf event that he's doing. If you're doing an event for people, or if you got a bunch of golfers in your office and you want to buy a cheap but really meaningful holiday gift for them, you can DM me and reach out. You can also email me at info@zilosophy.org if you want to buy books in bulk. If you want to buy a signed book, which I sell for 25 bucks, signed and shipped to you if you want an autographed copy of the #1 bestseller. And also you can reach out to me that way on info@zilosophy.org if you want to hire me to do a Zoom talk. I know everybody's working remotely. People are looking for interesting content. You've heard on the last podcast and a couple of the last ones that inclusivity.golf is a new brand that we've created. We're now doing training for companies, diversity, inclusivity, and equity training for companies. It's a really fun way to use golf and talk about how golf went from being a really exclusive sport to being a really inclusive sport, and that's a great story. And how can we use some stories from golf to help us find a way to be more inclusive and more accepting of each other. There's a lot of this still going on more than ever in the country and in the world, people blaming each other. It's not the right way to do it. We've seen how that works. It doesn't work. What we need to do is include each other, relate to each other based on what we have in common first, not based on what we differ on first, and build a relationship from there. So that's what inclusivity.golf is all about. You can go to that website. It is inclusivity with a TEE.golf, and you can see all about it. You can read the deck. So anyway, that's enough babbling. Coming up next, here's John Antonio with Always Say Hi. And we're now live on Instagram, and we're recording on Zoom. We've got John Antonio, the author of the book Always Say Hi, which is behind his left shoulder on Instagram and backwards, and behind his right shoulder on Zoom. How's it going, John?
Good morning. I'm awesome. You doing okay, Michael?
Yeah, man. I mean, look behind me. It's like a 72 clear, crisp, dry day in Central Florida. So
that virtual Zoom background is really working out.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right?
Can you send me that file? Can you send me that file when we're done?
Absolutely, I will. So, John, your book is Always Say Hi, An Introvert's Guide to to overcoming rejection. Let's start there. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you helped me marketing with my book. But first, I want to talk about your book and hear about your journey and how you came to this realization as an introvert that maybe if I just started saying hi to people, things would be different. And before I hand it back to you, I just want to say again, I've said this many times, a lot of people don't believe me. I'm actually an introvert too. Um, my safe zone is just by myself, sitting in a room and chilling. So I don't particularly love talking to people all the time. I do have learned to enjoy it, and I do love people, but it's not my natural way of being. So, um, yeah. So anyway, that's a preface. I'm a little bit distracted as someone is starting a lawnmower right behind me, and I'm hoping it's not going to be coming right
Just
next to me.
authenticity. I love it.
Yeah, that you have to pay extra for that Zoom background with the noise.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, this book was definitely a journey, and it really started out with me moving around a lot and settling into new cities and having the challenge of just reestablishing a social network. And I'll be honest, there were moments when I felt like intensely alone. And it wasn't so much the alone that, hey, I am alone. Like I'd be surrounded with people and still feel like intensely alone. Or I'd be hanging out, still feel it at home, still feel it. And I was just curious as to, hey, like where does this feeling come from? And how do I establish meaningful connections with people? And so you could say combat that feeling or to overcome that feeling of being intensely alone. And I know there's like a lot of literature out there about, hey, you need to do work within yourself, you need to be happy with yourself, you need to, and that's all true, it's all good. But I was really looking for in a journey to create meaningful connections with people, because I think that that's as what introverts, that's what we really enjoy, is we really love establishing meaningful connections with people.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think that that really resonates with me. Uh, that's where my introversion really comes from, and I never thought about that actually until I read a little bit of your book. I'll admit I haven't read it all yet, but for me, it was like when I was a kid. I used to love to sit with my parents and listen to their philosophical conversations with their friends. Um, and what I was missing with my peers at the time was like, and even now, not just then, but even now, is like, I don't really prefer small talk and chit chat. Like, I want to get right to the heart of it and talk about life. Like, this is look, life is traumatic. I've had a super blessed life. It's still traumatic, right? Like, and I want to talk about that and how we can help each other through those traumatic times and how we heal from that. So yeah, to me, that's really what it is about. And I'm glad that you said that, because that's what my introversion is about. Is I don't want to, pardon the language, but I don't want to just sit there and bullshit with people about nothing. I want to talk about
Yeah.
meaningful stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The weather or
Sports.
central on the news, or or the conversation that you heard like 9 times already in the past like 2 weeks, which now could be something, whatever, COVID or election related.
Yeah.
We want deeper. We want something that would establish a connection and something, that conversation that really brings type of meaning. And I discovered that saying the spontaneous connection of saying hello to a stranger really filled that void, not only for myself but for the other people I encountered.
Yeah. Can you hear that loud lawnmower behind me, or is it just me?
I can hear some trees, but yeah, I don't
You
hear
can
them.
hear trees.
I can hear you. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Trees are good.
As long as you can hear me and you're not hearing the lawnmower while you're talking, I think we're good. Also, my internet connection is a little unstable. I'm at my sister's house in Florida, and my brother-in-law and my two nephews are also on the Wi-Fi. So I don't know how this is going to work. I didn't really think about
Oh, good. Yeah.
but I think that we're good. And like you said, it's authentic, right? So this is just a conversation between two people. that we're having publicly, in hopes that with us sharing about our stories, that it might help other people with their story. And I really like the title of the book, Always Say Hi. Like, just keep it simple. We talked about this when you interviewed me on IG Live and you interviewed me about my book. Um, and one thing I was working on that time at that time, and I'm still working on, is the more simple I keep it, the harder it is to screw up. So like if you're overthinking like how am I going to get into a conversation with this person? What am I going to say? How am I, if it's someone I'm attracted to, maybe I'm going to sound stupid, like whatever. Maybe just start with the most simple thing. Hi.
Yeah, exactly. It's so simple. I would sometimes go to networking events, and it was almost like standardized that there's like 5 or 10 minutes of small talk before you actually
Right.
say substantial. That was like the standard format. And what do you do? I do this. What do you do? Oh, cool. Um, like, what do you do for fun? Oh, I do this. What do you do for fun? Oh, I do this. And you kind of go through this little ritual of preparatory talk before
Yeah.
really getting to know someone. But I've really discovered that if you're talking to a stranger and meeting someone new, the really the absolute best thing that you could ever say, and it's 100% effective, is just to be honest. Like, why did they catch your attention? Or why do you want to talk to them? Or, I mean, are you out on the beach, like, looking for someone to take a swim with? Then just be honest. Hey, do you want to go swim out into the deep water with me? I'm going to jump in. There's no rule. The only rule is that just be honest with people as to why you want to encounter them. If you're walking by a neighbor's house and they have gorgeous flowers, just be honest. Say, hey, I love your flowers. Those flowers are gorgeous. That's the only real rule. Other than that, like, it's like you can talk to whomever you want. You can do almost whatever you want.
Yeah, I love the authenticity behind that, what you're saying, right? That's what's really bad. Like, can I be authentic with this person, or do I have to protect myself for fear of rejection or fear of saying something silly? Like, for instance, you and I know each other well enough so I can tease you. Like, right? You just said, "Hey, do you want? I don't know you. Do you want to go swim in the deep water with me?" Maybe leave out the deep water part.
Yeah.
Maybe that's coming on a little too strong, right? But um, no, I really do appreciate the authenticity behind it of like, hey, I'm just a person, you're just a person. Let's talk. Maybe we have something in common. And again, like with what's going on in the world, you're both at the beach in the scenario you just laid out. You both like the beach. Maybe don't lead with who'd you vote for,
Yeah.
right? And try and talk about something divisive. Or a lot of times now people try and connect first on the things that we differ on, and of
Hmm.
course, we're all different, so we're going to differ on things. We're also all the same. And there's a lot we have in common, regardless of how different our political views, our sexual preferences, how much money we have, whatever. Like, don't start with those things. Start with the thing you know you have in common. That's beach for you. For me, it's like playing golf with people. You know, I like to play golf. I wrote a book about golf. I like to start talking to people about golf when I'm on a golf course because I know we have that in common.
Yeah, start with what's on your mind, what you're passionate about. Again, it kind of goes back to that honest self of like what are you feeling right now? And that goes back to discovering what are you really crazy about, because you will naturally share that with other people, and it'll come out in a conversation, and you'll bond over that, whether they're into it or not. So usually someone talking to me will discover in the first like 10 minutes that I love the outdoors, I love fitness, and I ride my motorcycle too much. So, those are things that someone will discover, and maybe they'll be into that, maybe they won't, but if they are, hey, we'll have a great conversation.
Listen, man, you just moved to Austin, Texas, I know. So those a great place to be for those kind of things. And if you throw a little love of music in there, then you hit the sweet spot.
Right? Yeah.
um, no, that's really good stuff. And yesterday we talked a little bit. We did a promo, and we were sort of practicing for the live. We talked a little bit about, you also illustrated in the book. All of the illustrations are in there. So talk to me about that and why that was important for you, and an important piece of sharing yourself with the work. Because right, what you and I both do is very similar in that it's about sharing our struggles publicly so that other people realize that they're not alone and that we're all struggling with something at any given time. And
Yeah, I've
illustrating
always
was one of the things that helped you with that. So talk about that.
I've always been a very visual person, so I definitely am someone who learns by images, and as well just the absolute simplicity of the images. So I put these little stick men like in the book, these little drawings, because I just wanted to make it like absolutely clear how you can talk to people or make spontaneous encounters or talk to strangers in public. Oh, and so I just drew those images. I put those in there, and it just makes it absolutely clear. Like, hey, this can actually happen. Imagine yourself in this situation, and they're like 9 or maybe an 8-year-old. It doesn't matter as long as it teaches what I wanted to teach or show what I wanted to show. Then that works.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I'm muting when you're talking so that you don't hear all the lawnmower noise. But I think he's almost done
Yeah.
next door. And this is one of those things that like life doesn't always go the way you want it to, right? Like you start a podcast, the connection's unstable, the guy's cutting the grass next door. You make your best, you make the best of it. Um, and just for those who are watching on YouTube, uh, John is looking directly into the camera on the Instagram Live, but he's forgetting that his laptop's over there too. So look at the laptop every once in a while. There you are. um,
Yeah, we're doing like a double thing here, but it's like dating two people at once or something. It's like, anyway.
I love that. It's definitely, this is weird for me too. Like I said, I haven't done too much live yet, so
Yeah.
and the audio is getting choppy now, so I'm hearing all kinds of different things. What else about your book? By the way, Always Say Hi is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. We're going to talk a little bit about that process and how you helped me later on, but like talk a little bit more about the book and what you really want people to get out of it. Like what's the most important thing for you? If there was one thing that they could take
I think the most important, yeah, is really just to feel good about themselves with where they're at in their social journey. First of all, that's the most important thing. Is like never be hard on yourself. Just feel good about where you are right now, and if you feel like some things are missing in life, like hey, I'd like to have more connections or more adventures or more friends or romance, love, whatever. Like just recognize that and accept it. Okay, that's cool. Like there are some things in my life that I'd like to have that aren't there. But first of all, just feel good about yourself, and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, feel good about that. And then as well, know that there are solutions, or there is a way that you could really create meaningful connections with people like on a daily basis. You don't have to wait around for your friend's birthday to come up to have a good time, or you don't have to wait around to like connect with somebody on an app, before you can have a good time and a glass of wine with someone. But really, like all around you all day, like there are plenty of opportunities to, if you feel like you want to have a meaningful connection or conversation with someone, that you can make it happen any day of the week, no matter what's happening, whether we're in even if we're in social distancing or whatever. You can always make it happen. And this doesn't necessarily mean that hey, you'll spend an hour making a new friend. Even just you can make a meaningful connection in 20-25 seconds, and you'll feel it. You'll be like, wow, that felt really good, that person spoke with me and I spoke with that person, kind of made my day. It doesn't take a 20-30 minute encounter. So that's really what I want people to know, is that they are empowered to feel good in the day and to create connections with people.
That's great, man. Thank you for sharing that. I think that what you said is really powerful, because really just the part of just saying hi could be the meaningful connection, right? It could even be
Exactly.
less than 25 seconds. It could be 2 seconds. And
Yeah.
I think I've talked with you about this before. I have this bracelet that says kindness matters. It's to commemorate the life of one of my friend's daughters who was killed in a mass shooting. And in instead of just being stuck in despair for the rest of their lives, he and his wife decided that they wanted to start a movement that kindness matters. And I always think about that because literally just saying hi to someone could change their day.
It
And
does. Yeah, people have told me it has changed their day. They'd be like, "Wow, you really made my day." And you don't know if that person hasn't like talked to anybody in a week or something,
right,
but you went out. And what makes
yeah,
it meaningful is that you went out of your way to do it, and
right,
you kind of put yourself out there, and
yeah.
that's what makes it meaningful. It's not the amount of time you spend with somebody that makes a connection meaningful. It's like you going out of your way and out of your comfort zone to connect with them.
Yeah, and I like the other part that you said before too about self-criticism. I wrote a whole chapter about me being my own worst critic in Zilosophy on Golf. It's chapter number 16. It's called Critic's Choice because I think that we all do this. We are all our own worst critic, right? And I've realized that me doing that has held me back a lot in my life from the things that I claim to want. So I needed to learn how to give that up if I actually want these things, whether it's relationships, abundance, happiness, joy, right? The more we criticize ourselves, the less we have space for those things that we want to manifest in our lives. So for me, and
Yeah, can you imagine like being at war with yourself? Like think of it from like a military strategic point, like your enemy is not the world that's trying to destroy you. That's what it's like you're already at war with the world is just watching on like, oh man, that nation is just like is destroying itself. Like we
yeah,
don't even have to do anything.
can I
So
imagine that I spent most of my life doing mostly that?
yeah, exactly.
Until
Exactly.
recently, when I got into my 40s and I learned to stop doing that to myself and to start letting that go and really freed myself up a lot. Now, I'm not perfect at it. I've gotten a lot better at it over the last 2 years because all the stuff I wrote in my book, and I think that you're the same, I wrote it publicly to hold myself accountable that these are the things that I want to work on. Right? And I know that you're the same in that way. These are the things that you want to work on. So you say it publicly so that you put yourself out there and then you have to go follow through. Otherwise, you're just some phony that wrote a nice book.
Yeah, you gotta live what you write. And that's probably one of the tough but also good things about being a writer and an author is that you need to live your book every day. And maybe you're not even like you can definitely fall and make mistakes or be lazy sometimes. Yeah, that's human. But you need to make that effort to live your book if you do write a book. Definitely.
I agree. I've shared a story many times that, um, I worked for a guy that did not do that. He wrote this great book, similar to what you and I did about music, and he gave these great speeches and lit people up. I would really watch him light up a room. And then he'd get off stage and he'd turn into a complete fear-filled wreck of a person and created chaos in his home life and in his office. And I swore I would never do that if I was going to do this work, that I had to be authentic about it, and that the whole point of doing it publicly, for me especially, I have a close family, but I don't have a wife and kids to hold me accountable every day.
Hmm.
This book was like that for me. This is my wife and kids that holds me accountable every day. That I have to go live this now because I put it out there in a public way, and I do this podcast in a public way, and so it reminds me to stay accountable to my words and to my actions. And I make mistakes all the time still. But when I get called up by someone else or by myself, I give myself love and forgive myself for doing it. And then I move on and I reestablish my commitment to live the way that I want to live.
That's the truth. Yeah, it's a journey. It's an experience. I hope anyone who has ever thought about writing a book definitely go out there and just do it and fearlessly, put those thoughts out there. And maybe you don't have to be perfect to write that book. That's definitely a lesson that I've learned is you don't have to be like some kind of guru or mini deity to come out with a book. Just just come out with it and all your imperfections and all your mistakes and share it.
Yeah, that's what it was about for me. But the second chapter in my book is all about that, is that there is no perfect, right? So we need to give that up. What we need to do is practice the things that make us our best. And self-criticism is not one of the things that makes me my best. So I try not to practice that too much. I try to practice self-love instead, which helps me be my best. Um, and like you said, to me, it was about like, oh, I'm not some guru that I know better than everybody else. Yeah, I know some things and I give people advice, and sometimes they follow and sometimes they don't. That's not up to me. But for me, it was about sharing the journey of my imperfections so that other people can see, hey, here's a guy who's saying some really important things that I like hearing. He's not perfect either. That makes it more approachable, right? Because it's real, it's authentic. I'm not sitting up here like Tony Robbins. I have all the answers for you. Just listen to me, follow me, and everything will change. No, like it's not that
Yeah,
easy.
it's like it's the way I've really been able to sum it up. The experience is that writing a book has almost nothing to do with you. It's the whole thing is not about you. It's about the people reading it. And one great example is I published one of my first books is several years ago. I published it, and so it's definitely not performing like my current one. It's slowed down a little bit, and I kind of even stopped thinking of it, thinking like, oh, like I'm beyond. I've learned so much since that book, and it's a good book, but I've learned so much, and I'm beyond now. And then just yesterday, I got a great review and some great feedback from a reader of that book who said, this book really changed my life. And it's really helped me to rethink my lifestyle and some of the choices I make and feel better about myself. And then I realized that it's not about me and where I'm at or how I feel about things. It's all about the reader and what they get out of it. So whether the reader gets more or less out of it, like that's what it's all about. It's not about where I'm at with the book.
Yeah, I don't think that most of us realize the effect that we can have on other people. It's why I've dived deeply into this work. I assume it's why you've also dived deeply into this type of work. Um, it's about the reader. Right. One of the hard lessons for me about writing this book and by understanding that I can advise people, like I used to get really frustrated by people asking me for advice all the time. Like, look, I'm dealing with my own stuff. Go figure it out. Right. And then I realized that I have this gift that I can put things into words for people that give them a perspective that's helpful. But here's the part I was not getting until very recently, and I still struggle with it at times. It's not up to me to make that person get it. It's up to me to say the best things that I can say, to write the best things that I can write, to create the best content and the best messages that I can get out there. Then it's up to that person to use those messages and that content for their best ability and for them to get the message on their own. We can't do it for other people, and others
Yeah.
can't do it for us, right?
Yeah, you can't take responsibility for people's reactions. I think you'll get tired very quickly if you start to do that because you're like, oh, this person got upset or this person didn't do anything. This person, read 5 pages of my book and quit. And you can get all that data on Amazon if you want. But you can't take responsibility for how people are reacting to what you're doing. You can only take responsibility, say, hey, like I did a good work, I did something good, and then it's like move on from there.
Yeah, I
I think
totally agree.
you'll
In fact,
get tired of life very quickly if you try to do that.
yeah, and it is exhausting. You're right. I actually just had this happen to me in my personal life. I had this connection with this person, and then and we were all totally on the same wavelength and the same page, and then it changed, and I realized that I was taking responsibility to their reactions to what I was doing and saying. Now, I'm not perfect, and I'm not always saying and doing the right things, but my heart and soul are pure. I mean, people tell me that all the time when they watch my videos and they read my book. You can see that. You know that about me already, and we don't even know each other that much. That doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes and say things that might trigger you here and there, but I can't be responsible for how much you latch onto that trigger and how far you take that trigger into anger, fear, despair, or whatever. Me, I'm working on practicing unconditional love and unconditional happiness. So anybody that's not aligned with that vibration, I send you love, and then I move on to whatever, wherever I can find that vibration that resonates with what I'm going on and what I'm working on in my life. That's not a judgment on anybody else. That's just where I am. Like self love is not about screw you. It's about, hey, this is who I am. This is where I am. And these are the people that I need to be around. And anybody can say anything positive or negative, and we can attach to those reactions and really feel good about ourselves or really feel bad about ourselves. Like it's about us. Everything that we need is inside us. That's in your book. That's in my book. This is the ultimate thing. When you said that earlier, that your book is ultimately about self-love, so is Zilosophy on golf. Not a lot of people realize that. It's about loving yourself so much that you can play a game of golf, play poorly or play well and not care. You can do the best in life that you've got. It goes well sometimes, it goes poorly sometimes, but you're fine because you're getting the lessons.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about it's like always forward, just always move forward. And like I had this image this morning. It's about like the good life is just not chasing after things you want, but just like run as fast as you can and let everything else chase you. You know, run with those quirky things you love doing.
Yeah.
Uh, Golf, me boxing, with your drawing stick figures and publishing them, you know, writing books, like all these weird, quirky things about yourself. It's
Yeah.
like, just run with those and run as fast as you can and do as much of it as you can. Let the world, let Amazon, let your followers, let all that keep up if they can. But
Yeah.
it's just go forward with it and love that journey.
Wait, did you call golf quirky? How dare you?
I think golf is quirky. I
No,
do.
it's
I haven't wrapped
totally,
my head around it yet.
it's totally quirky. I'm absolutely kidding. It's
I
it's a
I
bizarre.
understand the driving range. The driving range, I get that, and that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like Top Golf, and just whack something as far as you can, and then after that, carrying around a thing of
Yeah.
clubs.
Yeah.
I don't quite get it yet,
The
but
nuance.
I want to do it with you sometime. It's on my bucket
Yeah,
list.
let's do that, man. And look, it's not for everyone, and not everything's for everyone. I have the same experience with people who are way into skiing, and they're so into skiing. Like,
Yeah.
look, I've got skinny ankles and calves. I'm not built for skiing. I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I don't really get it. But what I do get is that people are really passionate about it and they love it. And I think that's great. It's not
It's
for
like
everyone.
it's cold on that lift. Why do you want to be cold while you're doing sports?
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
I'll be chilling at the inside the lodge by the
Yeah, next to
fireplace
the fireplace.
when you need me. All right, listen, let's transition here a little bit from your book and talk about how you've helped me with the marketing of my book. Anybody who's looked at my LinkedIn page knows that I've done a lot of marketing in my life, a lot of marketing in my career. I'm a branding expert. I'm a marketing expert. I don't say that as, hey, look at me, I'm a marketing expert.
Hmm.
People are weird about marketing like that, right? Like it's not that hard, but it's also not that easy, right? Everybody thinks they can do marketing because they buy things. It's not that simple. It's also not that difficult, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that you helped me with is that I'm not an expert in marketing books on Amazon, but you are. And I was able to take a step back
That's
and
why.
humbly accept your invitation to help me, which in a matter of weeks turned my book from hovering in mediocrity on Amazon to a number one selling book. And
We made it work.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And it really comes down to, uh, probably the biggest part about my process is my process that I'm proud of is the success rate. So we're both authors. We're both in marketing. We both have been perhaps part of groups, and there's plenty of groups out there where you can pay like $800 to join a group, and then you'll get a series of videos to watch, and then a group chat, and you can follow the posts, and then log into a live stream and stuff. But a lot of times, what I've seen from that is sometimes people get left behind, especially people who are busy or don't have the self discipline to to keep up with all the material and do all the assignments, or just plain scared, like, oh, I'm scared of doing that. I can't post on social media. I'm scared of doing that. Or I can't create this profile or put my credit card into this thing to run ads. Like, I'm scared I'll do it wrong. A lot of people are just plain scared of a lot of marketing processes, I realized. So what I wanted to do was develop one simple system where I would personally walk through with you and every step of the way, and we'll get it all done. As opposed to having a giant group of 100 people where 5% of them succeed immensely and sell tons of books and make a lot of money. And then 20% of them get mediocre results. And then all the rest, 75%, are just kind of left in the dust. And then because they don't have some of those skills to follow along. So basically the idea is, and I think that's a great part of this success, is like, I don't leave anybody behind. Like, you're on with me on a call every week personally, and it's just me and you. I'm not speaking to a group of people and hoping that you log in. It's like, you are there and I make sure you're there.
Yeah.
And I have you open your screen and we walk through exactly what you need to do. And that's, I think, the difference. I think a big part of the success of us working together is that I take that format as opposed to a giant group thing. And there's nothing against those. Some people succeed in those and they're awesome, and the coaches are amazing and skilled. But what I saw is that some people just need someone to log in with them all alone, one-on-one, and get the work done that they do. So
I needed somebody to sit me down. Look, I've told people, and I'm getting better at telling people this, right? Like, I'm not great at guessing. I'm really good if you give me clear directions on what to do.
Directions.
Whether that's in marketing or in friendships or relationships or on the golf course, right? All of it. Just tell me what to do and I'll do that. And so that's been very helpful for me, the very clear communication, the direct, here are the simple steps. And this is the other piece I want to touch on. It's been incredibly simple, the stuff that you've told me. And that's been incredibly important for me, because if it gets complicated, it can be frustrating and confusing. Even someone who knows marketing, like, that's one of the reasons why I haven't dived deeper into this until I met you, was it seemed too complicated to me. I tried some things that didn't work, but you helped me build the foundation that would allow it to work. And that was really key. So I'm not going to give away all your secrets, but we can touch on some of them, like joining the right Facebook groups and talking with people online. And like you said, that can be very confronting for people. I did have maybe 2% of the hundreds of people I've talked to in the last few weeks in these golf groups. 2% of the people have said some weird things or some things that I don't think are inappropriate, or sent shade at me for, how can you be so self-promoting here, whatever. Like, hey, that's their stuff. That's not mine. And like we were talking about earlier, I'm not going to take that on for them. I send them back love, and I carry on promoting to the people who actually care about what I'm talking about, because there's a lot. And I've sold a decent amount of books in those groups. And a lot of people have told me that those book has helped them from those conversations in those groups.
Yeah.
So I continue to do that, not to getting deterred by the small percentage of people who want to be haters. That's life. We know that a lot of people go online just for that. That's a sad existence. But then beyond that, the simple approach of showing me how to run an effective Amazon ad campaign.
That's a big part about what I do. Yeah. And I focused on that because I think that some people will really succeed with that format. There are some people who love Instagram, for instance, and I do. We're obviously on Instagram. I like it and everything, but that's they succeed in that. Other people aren't so much into social media marketing and perform much better in a system like Amazon ads. And so that's actually a bulk of the people I work with. Clients are actually people who, don't prefer not to use social media or use it less, and want to use a system like Amazon ads that's less connected to a lot of their personal profile or that doesn't require logging into an app 9 times a day, whatever, however you use social media. So the Amazon ads is one that I love for a lot of different reasons. It gives you a lot of great data on your book. You start learning about your book the more you use it. You learn about what people like about it. You learn about what keywords work, which ones don't. You learn about, like, even a little bit about the type of people who are buying it, if you can kind of if you read the data correctly. So that's something I like about it. I like the systematization. That's a big word. How do you put systematization?
Systemization.
Oh. I'm actually Russian. English is not my first language. Excuse. Yeah. So here we are, writers. We can't talk.
Hey,
So
nobody ever said writers could talk or write for that.
Yeah, I know. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to be doing this written interview. Like, you send me a list of questions, and I just respond. But, the world is what it is. You have to use video now. Yeah, it's very process oriented. So there's no guesswork. There's something that I need to do, and I'm starting to show you something that you need to do for 10 minutes every morning to keep your Amazon ads proficient and up to date and performing well.
Yeah.
And it takes that guesswork. Like you said, you don't like guesswork. I hate guesswork also. Yeah. Like, there are moments where I'm creative for sure, and I like coming up with creative solutions, but I don't want to live like that my whole day. Like, I do need to know, hey, what is it exactly that I need to do? So Amazon ads is just great for that. It's great for those types of people who want to build marketing platform in that way. Something that's simple, process, guesswork, and keeps you off a lot of the social media apps. Like, it doesn't require you to be active in those senses. So
yeah, I think so. I ran ads on social media and Amazon ads, and none of that was working because I didn't really have the right campaign. Now, I think that with social media, those ads don't directly drive sales anyway. They can a little bit depending on the product and whatever. In this case, Amazon ads is a much more effective. Like you said, the tracking's incredible. And then also, like you said that, and you've really been on me. Like, this is something you've got to do every day. It's a lifestyle. It's not just something you dabble in here and there. To get my book to #1 was a process that took a few weeks. Now, on Amazon, it doesn't just stay at #1. It might disappear the next hour or the next day and slide back down the chart, right? And so it's about staying proactive with that. Like, my book hit #1. It went back down to like 10 or 12. Now it's back up to #3 because I'm constantly working at staying active, doing the things that you've told me, because I do believe that eventually your book and my book will have put so much work into them that they will stay in the top 5 indefinitely for a period of time, because they're going to catch on. They're going to get that buzz. People are going to start talking about them, sharing about them. And then other people are doing the work for us, and we can sit back and collect checks, right?
No, that's
one day.
Yeah, about Amazon, it does build on your sales. So if you're doing well for a year, then your next year is, the metrics are going to be a little better. So it's not, you're starting over every day from zero. That's definitely a good thing about that sales platform.
Right. And what you do, what you've done for me is to help me build the foundation. So continue, like what I was missing when I was doing it earlier by myself with all my marketing expertise. I'm so smart, right? Like, I forgot the first step, build the foundation. And also, I didn't know what the first step was, right? Like, how to build that foundation so that you can continually work it and do the right things. Now, look, my book has sold pretty well. I'm happy with it. I think it could sell a lot better. I think that there's a lot of value, and millions of people eventually will love this book and read it. We're not there yet, but look, for the first time ever now, I'm having consistent sales, selling 1 or 2 a day on average for the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. You did that for me. I was never able to figure out how to do that without your help. And that's what I want to say to authors out there who might be listening. I can tell you, I'm not blowing smoke here, and it's not just because my book is so great, right? Like, this is a process that works. Now, the book is good, and that helps, of course. John is also smart, and his process works, and it's not necessarily about the book or about me. Um, it's about this process, and I've really enjoyed the simplicity of it. And like you said, also the one-on-one attention you've given me to, like, hey, this book is different than David Brody's book about Templars. This book is different than Lara J's book about it being enough. This book is different than other books, so it needs specific things, and every book is different. Every person is different, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a personalized approach to see, what your book needs, and that's something I do before I even work with someone or reach out to them. Is I take a look at their book and I say, hey, is this a book that I could work with and make successful? Basically, does this book have unrealized potential?
Right.
And if it does, then I'll say, okay, let's work together. And there are definitely some books where I've had to say, like, look, your your book um, your book is going to need like a lot of work, like a lot of redoing and everything, which I don't think I'm the right person to do that with you.
Right.
So, but if I see a book that's like has what I will consider like unrealized potential, where it could go further, we just need to like tweak some things and turn some
Yeah.
things around and build a better foundation for it, then I'll definitely work with that and say, hey, let's, because I'm not going to. I had one person just say, hey, I've got $400 to spend on ads. Can you set up ads for me and run them? And I was like, I could
Yeah,
take your money, but
but
the ads aren't going to go anywhere because
right.
your book needs work and it
Yeah.
doesn't have the foundation. It
Yeah.
doesn't have the foundation
I
for
was
itself.
very fortunate in the help that I got early on with the writing and the editing of the book. I spent a
Mhm.
lot of money and a lot of time making sure the book was done right, and I had a lot of help to do that. So I was very lucky that way. And I'm glad that shout out to Ben Alper, who's the one who connected us. He was on the podcast
Yeah.
talking about his book about introverts, and that got you and I connected. And then you saw the unrealized potential in my book that I was very grateful for, because I really do believe this is a book that can sell 1 million copies. Now, that's not going to happen overnight, and it doesn't matter. Like, yes, I could get on the Golf Channel, and that will help. But like, if
Mhm.
all the foundational points aren't there, like if I got on the Golf Channel 3 months ago and didn't have this Amazon thing dialed in like I have it with you now, that's very different than it would be now if I got on the Golf Channel next week and like we have this incredible foundation on Amazon ads, and we can really capitalize
Mhm.
on what was said on that publicity hit that we get, right? So, um, I'm just very grateful that the universe brought us together for you to help me, and hopefully I've helped you in terms of at a minimum proving that your process does work when the book is there. Uh,
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, this is really what drives me forward is seeing talented people write good books. And then after the hype of launch, like the book tapers sales stagger or they go down, and then that talented writer maybe starts thinking to himself, oh, maybe I didn't write such a good book, or maybe I wasn't meant to be a writer. And I'm not saying that you went through that, but I think it's definitely
oh no,
happening.
I did.
And what I realize is that, all it takes is a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of the correct marketing, 20 minutes a day, and you could doesn't have anything to do with how good of a writer you are. And this is something that a lot of them aren't well known yet. They don't have big networks. They got a couple hundred followers on social media or whatever,
Yeah.
and they struggle with that. After the initial launch, the sales go down. Oh, what do I do now? Maybe I didn't write such a good book. And it's like, you wrote a good book.
Right.
You just need to tweak a few things
Well,
and
I did go.
take some action.
I did go through that, but I always knew that the book was good, because not because of me or, hey, look at me, I'm so great. Honestly, I've told people this. I don't say it a lot, but a lot of that stuff was channeled from somewhere else. It didn't even come from me. It came through me, first of all, right? So I don't even really take credit for it. And then, like I said, I got a lot of help to make sure the book was done right and it was in a digestible format. Um, but there were some times of like, why isn't it selling better? Why isn't it doing what I think it can do? And you've really helped me begin the process of resurrecting this book and bringing it back into the forefront of the conscious of people. Because this book, again, it's not for me. It's not like I want to get rich off this book. There's a lot of valuable messages in my book, just like there are in yours. I want people to receive those messages. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. We need positive messages to let people know that it's okay and you're going to be okay and you're going to find a way through this.
Yeah, it goes back to that. It's never about you. It's about the reader, and
Right.
it's about the people that you're writing for. And the moment that you make the process about you, it's like, everything becomes 10 times heavier. You're just like carrying weights around all day. But you realize that, hey, none of this is really about me. It's about the reader and the people that I'm writing for. It's for them.
I don't do this for people to tell me that I'm great. My journey is to find how great I am within myself. Right? And I'm learning to do that. It's great. I enjoy it when people tell me I'm great because I wrote this book or I do this podcast, but it's not the thing that's important to me. Like, again, even that's about them, like them saying, hey, I really enjoyed what you did so much that I think you're great, but really that's opening up their own greatness. They're seeing it, me and themselves in some way. They're like, hey, maybe I have a potential to do more, to help more people, to be more. And that's really what the work is about for me. I'm not a narcissist. I never have been. If anything, I've always erred on the other side of being too self-judgmental about myself. My life would have been very different if I was a narcissist, and I probably would have never ended up here helping people. So I'm thankful for the journey and all the lessons that I've had that have brought me here. And I'm thankful that you're now helping me get this book out to more people that will help them. That's it. If that makes me money and I can make a living off of that, that's great. But that's secondary to helping, even if it's just one person that I help them come out of a dark place because they read something that I wrote or they watched a podcast. That's enough for me.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's just like tossing out that material to get people to read it. And marketing is so simple. And the first time I joined a marketing class or workshop, so to say, they had this huge like calendar. You need to do this on Monday morning and do this on Monday afternoon and then do this on Tuesday. And I was just like, my brain was like scrambled into my brain was scrambled. I was like, some people get this, but I'm not really this kind of person who segments like the whole week into 90 different activities.
Yeah.
And what it really came down to is like, look, marketing's for books, at least, is boil it down to two things. You need to get people to see your cover, and then you need to get people to open the cover and want to read the book. And that's really what it comes down to. It's like, it simplify and then think of what are the processes, really, a couple simple processes that will help people on that journey. Get your cover in front of people and get people to open it and want to read it. And that's how I really simplified everything. And so you don't feel like you're running around all week and constantly on apps or trying to schedule posts and things like that. If you are that type of person, definitely go that route. But for other people like myself and a lot of people I work with, we don't want to do that. We have a lot of other things going on during the day, or a lot of other things going on with life or with family or with work or whatever. And, we just need that 10 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes in the morning to do our marketing stuff and then move on from there.
Yeah, it's great. And I've actually realized that getting into Facebook groups, I have to be careful when I post in the golf groups because it turns into hours because they're so engaging.
Right. Yeah.
But it's great. Like, to me, I love that. That's like, okay, I'm going to sit down for 3-4 hours and just talk to people about my book and about myself and my journey. It's not always about the book. It's about my thoughts. How can I help this person? I'm not just trying to sell them a book. I'm trying to help them, right? So this is John Antonio. His book is Always Say Hi, An Introvert's Guide to Overcoming Rejection. As you've heard, he's also helped me immensely with Amazon marketing of my book, made it into a #1 seller. His book is also a #1
Is
seller.
that a golf swing, or was that?
No, that was cheering
okay.
to myself,
I
right?
was cheering.
John, you are at always.say.hi on Instagram. You're John Antonio on Facebook. Are you on LinkedIn? Where else can people find you?
John Antonio, LinkedIn, or Facebook or Instagram. Always say hi. I also have my website for email subscribers. Alwayssayhi.com.
Okay, alwayssayhi.com.
Yeah,
That's a great place to go check out, find more about John. And if people want to contact you about help with their book, they can do that on the website, alwayssayhi.com.
Yeah, best way is just to DM. Or
DM.
you can, contact me on the website, or I'm all over the internet. So either I'm sure I have a few email addresses floating around out there.
As you heard earlier in the podcast, he is running as fast as you can and hoping that you'll catch up to him so you can join him for a portion of the journey.
Yeah, but it's email is also, it's so easy to remember. My first name, John at alwayssayhi.com. So
John at alwayssayhi.com.
Yeah,
there you go.
Definitely, especially if you're a first-time author, or if you're an author who's seen that you're nervous about your launch, or your launch is done, you've seen like sales go down, you're wondering like how do you bring that back up in a systematic way, then I could probably have to take a look at your book and your profile and your material, but probably help you to.
I can personally vouch for the results. You've heard about them here. This is a great, simple process that anybody can do. As John says, like not every book is ready, so he might point you in another direction. By the way, John, if you have any of those, someone you want to help but their book's not ready, I do know some editors and writers that might be able to help with that. So, we can help people along that path too and get their book ready so that then you can come in and help them market it once it's updated to the point where you think it's ready to go. So let's consider that too. And we're going to be staying in touch and helping each other a lot, I know. Anyway, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing about your story and about what drives you and what you're passionate about in life. It's very inspiring. You got a great energy. You care deeply about this. It's very clear. And so I just want to say thank you.
Awesome, Michael. Thanks for the podcast.
You got it, man. So now, can I turn off live? I don't know. And can I stop recording?
Maybe it's not too late. Maybe you could make my world a brighter place.
Okay, so there you have it. Episode 45 of the Zilosophy podcast. In the books, pun intended. That's John with Always Say Hi, An Introvert's Guide to Overcoming Rejection. You can follow him at always.say.hi on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook and LinkedIn under John Antonio. You can email him at john@alwayssayhi.com. Reach out if you want to give him feedback or if you're looking for help on marketing your book. As you heard, he's a wizard at at Amazon marketing for books. He's really helped me make this book into a #1 bestseller. Zilosophy on Golf, now a #1 bestseller on Amazon. You can email me at info@zilosophy.org if you want to buy books in bulk, if you want to buy an autograph book, if you want to hire me to do a Zoom talk about Zilosophy on Golf or about inclusivity.golf. Check out inclusivity.golf. It's spelled with a T-E-E, not a T-Y, .golf. That's the website, inclusivity, T-E-E.golf. And you can check that out. You can ping me from there. The information's on there as well. You can reach out and order books. I hope that this podcast has been meaningful for you. I hope that people out there are staying safe and sane during these crazy times. Just remember, everything that we talk about, John and I, look inward, don't look outward. The answers aren't out there, they're in here. And as John said, then you take that inward self-confidence and self-love and you go outside and you talk to people, and then it's fine because you're coming from in here in the heart. So thanks for listening. That's a wrap on Zilosophy Podcast 45. And we'll be talking to you again soon. Got some great other podcasts coming up. Jeff Goldstein, golf coach out of San Diego, who buys a lot of books from me, is going to be coming on the podcast finally. I've been trying to get him on for over a year. He's finally coming on the podcast, and I'm very excited about that. I think that's going to happen next week. Might have another astrologer coming on. We got some cool stuff coming up, so stay tuned. I'm Z. This is the Zilosophy Podcast, and you're welcome.